heaven's eternal morn. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming again, he is coming again, he is even at the door. Even at the door, he is coming again, he is coming again, he is even at the door. Look not on earth for strife to cease, look not below for joy and peace, until the Savior comes again to banish death and sin. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming again, he is coming again, he is even at the door. The coming King is at the door, who once the cross for sinners borne, but now the righteous ones alone, he comes to gather home. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door, he is coming. He is coming again, he is even at the door. The signs that show his coming near are fast fulfilling year by year, and soon will hail the glorious dawn of heaven's eternal morn. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming again, he is coming again, he is even at the door.
Good evening, guys. Good evening. How are you? I hope I find you well. I hope I find each and everyone well. Today we have an important discussion there for Horsemen.
At the door, at the door, at the door, yes, even at the door. He is coming again, he is coming again, he is even at the door. Look not on earth for strife to cease, look not below for joy and peace, until the Savior comes again to banish death and sin. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming again, he is coming again, he is even at the door.
Okay, so good evening. I hope I find you all in the comfort of your houses or your homes. You might be at work or busy anyway we might be. All right. Yes, tonight I want to discuss something very important, fascinating, and it's going to change a lot of our understanding. Now, I'm going to show from the Bible how it changes a lot, how we need to read proper. This is the Bible. For my discussions and everything, I use the Word of God. I use the Bible and the Bible alone. Okay? Yes, I have less of hermeneutics and stuff. Okay? So we use the Bible. It has to agree from one point to another. My discussion this evening is the four horsemen. Okay? The four horsemen. So to help us go through with this, actually I have prepared some materials. I have prepared some materials. Okay, so that yep. Okay, so there we go. I hope I can get to do what I want to do. Okay, so I'm void of my. We cannot do it this way. Okay, so I need to do some alterations, one or two. Okay. So I want to discuss this, the four horsemen. Okay, let me put one more song before we proceed, because there's something that I underestimated. Okay. Okay, that's better. Um, that's better. Okay. Yeah. So now let us begin. I'm going to go full throttle, and my time is very limited today. Because I chose to do tonight because of my schedule on the Sabbath. My schedule is so tight. All right. So let me remove my gadgets. My setup is done. Okay. So yep. The discussion is about the four horsemen. Okay. The four horsemen, and we want to find um, we want to find their purpose, and their time of action. This is coming from a background of a traditional view, or should I say, a mainstream view, which views the four horsemen. The four horsemen I'm discussing is basically coming from Revelation chapter 6, not from Zechariah. Okay, so I have Zechariah understanding coming to this. I have Zechariah's understanding as a background. I also have Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 21 as a background. Okay, yes. So we want to find and understand the four horsemen of Revelation chapter 12, their purpose and their time of action. The mainstream church or organization, should I say congregations, they teach some in the sense that the four horsemen they already came and they are past. They are done away with. Okay, and why they come to this conclusion is what we want to discover and see if there is anything credible in that story. Okay, if there is anything credible in that story. So where do I start? I start my discussion from the great exclamation by Daniel in the book of Daniel chapter 7. Yeah, Daniel, as he ends the vision of the four beasts and the interpretation that was given to him, in the end he exclaims and says that hitherto is the end of the matter. This is after judgment has been said. Okay, this is after judgment has been said. This is after the little horn has faced its own fate, and it has been removed. Okay, Daniel, he ends that part and he says that hitherto is the end of the matter. One, Daniel, he alludes to a point which says that his visions in Daniel chapter 7 and Daniel chapter 8, Daniel chapter 10 and 11 and 12. I left 9 because 9 pertains to the people. It was a prophecy for his people. It came and it passed and it was done away with. But the one which was outstanding is the one which was built initially in Daniel chapter 2, and then with more info in Daniel chapter 7, and in Daniel chapter 8 was elaborated. Okay, and then you go to chapter 11, it is expanded into detail, the king of the north and the king of the south. And Daniel chapter 12, then he comes with an plausible end. He begins to discuss the story of the captives, the victory of the captives that they are going to conquer. And he says, blessed is he who gets to the 1335 day. All right. So the part I want initially is this, that the great judgment, according to Daniel, this is the end of the matter. Okay, so the thrones which were set, the meeting place. Already, I'm in the story. Okay, if you don't get it now, it will be difficult to end with me. Okay, to get the concept when I finalize my discussion. Okay, so according to Daniel, the judgment that was set, which was against, or should I say, towards the little horn, okay, the judgment that was set, according to Daniel, it pertained to the end. It was the great judgment, the one that comes to the end. All right? Keep that part. We're going to come to that. At Daniel chapter 7, 26 and 27. Let me read for reference sake. And the judge is seated. I like the new young literal translation there. Okay, so there's a difference. I'll come to the differences, but still how they compound the idea of what was happening. And the judge, this is young literal translation, and the judge is seated, and its dominion they caused to pass away, to cut off, and to destroy unto the end. So it's discussing the little horn, that of his dominion is to be when judgment is set, when the judge sits on the throne. All right, it's an on your marks. He has to cause the dominion of the little horn to cease. The little horn has to be destroyed. And the kingdom and the dominion, even the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heavens, is given to his people. The saints of the Most High, his kingdom is a kingdom age enduring, and all dominions do serve and obey him. I like the concepts which are being brewed in this vase. All right, one, that the kingdom, so there's a kingdom, there's a territory, it's a physical place where you can put on your barrier, your fences, and say, this is mine. The kingdom. And dominion is the reign, the authority over such a land. And the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heavens is given to the people of the Most High. See, these guys, when they were writing, Daniel, John, when they were writing, they were coming from a perspective, an understanding that their land in Jerusalem, their land, Jerusalem, the temple in Jerusalem, their land was desolate. The kingdom was no more kingdom. There was no dominion because there was no king in Israel. There was no king in Israel. There was no one who ran. No one could claim heritage of that place. So when you see the argument, when he's saying that it was given to the people, the saints of the Most High, they have in mind the captives, and they are saying the captives are going to be retained. They are going to regain, repossess their land, get everything back together and start afresh. For they shall be restored. So the achievements of the judgment, you can read Daniel chapter 7. I know many people who will be prompted to listen to my discussion to some extent, have an understanding of Daniel chapter 7, have some form of a background, something they have learned before. Okay, but if you haven't, you can just find your Bible, download that application. I know some of my friends who are not familiar with the Bible, but then download an application of the Bible. Okay, it's there on App Store, Google Store. All right, download the Bible. When you download the Bible, go to the book of Daniel. Okay, Daniel. Yah is judge. And then you go to chapter 7, read the whole story and the drama. I'm only concerned with verse 26 and verse 27. I'll come to the other verses, but for now, this is my my discussion. The judgment. What the judgment was supposed to achieve exactly? To restore the dominion, the reign of the people. This is what Yeshua says in the book of Revelation when he's talking to one of the churches, where he says, to him who is going to overcome, I'm going to give him a rod so that he can judge the worlds and the earth. You feel me? Psalms chapter 20, Psalms chapter 20, 22, yes, chapter 22, that he who has a rod of iron to scatter with it. All right. So the idea of reigning is both for the Messiah and the people of the Most High. For the people of the Most High, they are to be given because it belongs to Yeshua. But Yeshua is going to give it to the people who will have overcome, who are going to sit with him. He is going to invite them to sit with him on the throne. He is already on the throne. He invites them to come and sit with him and judge the worlds. So dominion and reign, this is where they are coming in from. The territory of reign, his kingdom is taken away from him. So, you see, this is in introductory to the synoptic gospels, where when Yeshua, after his baptism, Jesus, it is after his baptism, he goes to the wilderness. All right, when he goes to the wilderness, he is tempted by the devil. Okay, so the temptations, I'm not gonna do on the temptations, but I want the second temptation where he is taken to the peak of a mountain, where he is asked from the peak of the mountain, he is asked to say, if you want all this territory, if you want all this land that you see, kneel before me. Kneel before me. Okay? And I'm going to give them to you. Kneel before me. So Jesus realizes that this was a trap. The dominion or the kingdom that this gentleman is claiming was his mission, but he wanted to do it in a legal basis, that he would pay the ransom and he will have the title deeds brought before a big courtroom, and on front of the courtroom then he is going to present his credentials and he will get back the title deeds which were taken from Adam by Lucifer. You get the point? So Lucifer, when he says that kneel and I will give you everything, he knew what he was discussing, what he was proposing to Jesus, to Yeshua. He knew what he was proposing. Worship me and I will give you this territory. All right? His reign, his dominion. Where do we find this? Daniel chapter 2, verse 34, verse 35. I think I browsed it through that. Okay. The kingdom which shall be taken away. Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. Okay. That the little horn shall be broken. So this is how, this is the result of the judgment that was set, is that the territory is going to be taken back. All right? Yeah, it's going to be taken back. But listen to verse Daniel chapter 8, 25, and it says, and he shall be broken, but by no human hand. Whatever is going to happen is not of mankind's making. It's a new ballgame. It's a different ballgame altogether. It's something that has never been told. Yeah, it's not nuclear, all right? It's not hunger, it's not flooding, okay? So we have territory of rain, his kingdom is taken away from him, his greatness shall be given to the captives, the saints of the Most High. Yes, I know he prides himself as the owner, one who is gifted, but books are going to be opened, all right? Listen to this, Daniel chapter 7 verse 10. Okay, a stream of fire issued. This is English Standard Version. Okay, a stream of fire issued and came out from before him. 1,000 and thousands, myriads and myriads served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court sat in judgment, and the books were opened. I like the theme that the court sat in judgment and books were opened. This is the springboard to my discussion, to the four horsemen where we are going, okay? The court sat in judgment and books were opened, all right? Yes. So Daniel chapter 7, I was just going through my study. I was going through different Bible versions. So I liked how they augmented the concept one from another. Okay, the King James Version says the judgment was set and books were opened. Young literal translation, the judge is seated and the books have been opened. The English Standard Version, the court was in judgment. And the books were opened. The court was in judgment. So this is the court was deliberating. They came, the judge, the chief judge came. So it gives this picture that this where we have come is everybody represented. The judge is seated, all right? The court sat in judgment. So when you're discussing the court, exactly, you discussing those who come around to witness, to see and view what is about to transpire. And the three visions I've just shown, they all speak of one momentous event, a judgment where the jury sits, the judge himself, the chief judge, sits, and the judgment is about to be said, and books were opened. All right, and this is where I'm taking my issue for Revelation chapter 4 and Revelation chapter 5. All right, so now we just bump to this open space where I haven't been discussing, or we haven't been discussing Revelation chapter 4 and 5, but Daniel, okay, because he is the basis for understanding what is happening in Revelation chapter 4 and chapter 5. So Revelation chapter 4 and chapter 5, the question is it Pentecost or trumpets? Why, Mister, are you asking the question? Revelation chapter 4, is it a Pentecost or trumpets? What is Pentecost and trumpets? So Pentecost is the feast of the Pentecost, okay, that which used to happen. The first Pentecost was at Mount Sinai, all right, when the captives from Egypt, they were being taken with a mighty hand as they come out of Egypt. Their first point of call at Sinai was the Pentecost, where they were given the book of the law, or the tablets which had the law, and the book which had the law. All this were given to Moses, all right, and it has become the picture of Pentecost, that when Pentecost would come, they would review the work, the books of the law. yeah, and they would elaborate on the concept. This we also find in the book of Acts in Jerusalem. 40 days later, okay, the disciples were in a room and they were praying with and communioning with one another, and they were of one doctrine. And this is what happened. They received the Holy Spirit, and it was on a Pentecost. What did they do? They went out and deliberated the thing that they had received. Because the Holy Spirit had equipped them, they went and deliberated on this thing. So Pentecost is associated with the word being revealed, the law being elaborated, light being given more to the people. This is Pentecost. Okay, this is Pentecost. What is trumpets? Trumpets is the feast of trumpets. So trumpets happens on the first day of the 7th month of the Jewish calendar, or should I say the Hebraic calendar. Okay, on the first day of the 7th month was the Feast of the Trumpets. What was synonymous, or what is associated with the Feast of Trumpets? Number one. All right, so it was a moment of judgment. Okay, you see the picture is this: the first day of the 7th month of trumpets. Okay, they would blow the trumpets. 10 days later, they were going to the Day of Atonement, the Day of Atonement, the great day of judgment. And 15 days from the trumpets, they would go into the camp meetings. Okay, or the Feast of Booths. All right, so it was a series of which opened into judgment, and then after judgment, the celebration. So the trumpet, when it was blown, it was blown with an intent to bring people back to their senses and say, listen guys, listen, do something about it. Judgment is about to come. What exactly they used to do? Just a history. I'm deviating. I'm going out from my discussion a little. Towards the 7th month, the 6th month, they would every day they would be fasting and confessing their sins every day. And the shofar, or a trumpet, so there are different trumpets or shofars, all right? The smaller trumpets were blown in the 6th month almost every time when the time of prayer. The 6th month when they hear, boo, boo, they would understand, their brains would come to this point and say, am I okay? Have I confessed my sins? Am I okay before Yahweh? Are my children, my family, is everyone around me okay with the Lord? Because the day of judgment is coming. This is what Paul was alluding to when you hear him say, who shall give the trumpet a certain sound? Who shall make the difference in the sounding of a trumpet? He was looking at the feast of trumpets, changing the trumpet to a higher tone. And as you proceeded those last 10 days, the last 10 days that you see from the 1st of Tashiri to the 10th of Tashiri, those 10 days were solemn days. They were solemn days. Everybody was agonizing with themselves. My sin, my sin, my sin before Yahweh. How can I do this thing? So, there was a judgment issue at hand. The other theme of trumpets was the inauguration. Yes, should I say inauguration? But a king, see what would happen. So these people had two calendars which ran parallel to one another. All right, two calendars. One was the the year of the calendar of tithes or tithing. All right, the civil calendar. The other one was a political one. The political one would start in the 7th month. Okay, so in the 7th month going onwards, that's when they would begin the political recognition of the years of reign of a king. So a king could by chance would come into office maybe because of death in the 3rd month. But when the 7th month came, he would receive a book of the law. They would take him for the inauguration. This you find in the books, okay, and find their practices. You would understand the point that John knew the inauguration of a king. And also, you see, and also the thing which would happen, you see, when they were going towards the Day of Atonement, okay, when they were going towards the Day of Atonement, something used to happen to the high priest who was going to be, who would have been assigned to commission the Day of Atonement. Okay, so one had to be assigned that you are the one, the high priest, you are the one who is going to save. Okay, you are the one who's going to save in the Day of Atonement. So they would do this because there was a possibility or a chance that he can get sick or something could happen to him. They would need a replacement or someone who could continue with the business of the day and not stop because the high priest had an issue. Okay, so those who would have been assigned with the duty to officiate the Day of Atonement, they were taken aside. They were taken aside. So they were taken aside that they might be consecrated. Okay, because these are the only people who would come before the mercy seat in the most holy place. So a situation where a high priest was missing on the Day of Atonement, it was terrible and unthinkable to a Hebrew person. You could not, you did not want to imagine it. Because failure for that day, for the events of that day to be officiated, it meant that the whole camp of Israel was condemned with their sins. One more year, they would be condemned with their sins. So the issue of the high priest coming to this moment was very important. Okay? Pentecost or no Pentecost. All right? So this is what I was discussing before. All right? That sorry about that. I want this guy to be okay. Guess this can work. I hope you guys can see. Wow, it's coming very tiny for me. But anyway, these are the points which I was listing, okay, earlier on, where I was asking if this event is Shavuot, then it justifies the Revelation chapter 6 to have begun. So Revelation chapter 6 is the one that talks about the 4 horsemen. Okay, so if Revelation chapter 4 and 5 is Pentecost, it justifies the appearance of the 4 horsemen from even as early as 31 AD. Wow, sorry about that. I know this discussion has been fought front, back, left and center, left, right and center, okay, that it should not happen. I will not quit now. Okay, I will not quit now. Someone needs to know what is about to happen. All right, somebody needs to know what is about to happen. So the question was that should this event be Shavuot? Okay, and for sure then the 4 horsemen would have begun from 31 AD. But Shavuot, was my question. But Shavuot in the Pentecost, there is no explanation. Why would John cry? Okay, why would John cry in Shavuot? On Shavuot, why would he cry? What was the thing? What was the problem? Why the suspense? Why the scroll that had 7 seals on a Shavuot? On a Shavuot, what is given is the revelation of the word, of the law is given, is openly given in Acts, in the book of Acts, chapter 2. The law, the teaching is given, is opened. Why? How could Revelation chapter 5 be Shavuot? How can it be Pentecost? Is the question. The seals and the breaking of the seals. How? All Pentecost experiences involved mankind. And in this case, we have a situation in chapter 5 where John is crying because no one is worthy. No one is worthy. But if you go in the Shavuot, in the experience of the Pentecost, okay, the law was given to Moses. He was worthy to receive the law and give it to people. On the day of Pentecost in Jerusalem, the disciples were worthy to receive the Spirit and the word, or the spiritual gifts that it gave them, and they spoke and understood. And the people, they understood. It was imparted. There was no worthiness required on Shavuot, on Pentecost, for the events to proceed. How can Revelation chapter 5 be Shavuot? How? My conclusion was that this cannot be, okay? This cannot be Shavuot. Cannot be Shavuot anywhere. Now, I go to the interesting one, the Feast of Trumpets. Why? It has to be the Feast of Trumpets. It is the Feast of Trumpets. Jala, listen, you see, John, the bigger problem, I think, which many scholars do, especially those who go to seminaries or the school of the prophecies of the prophets, is that when they go, okay, when they go there, they tend to see things in a way of their Greek teachers, or should I say in the Grecian philosophy of some sort, where they are limited to the scope of their methods, methodology, and principles of hermeneutics, of interpretation of the word. They are limited to that. They do not bring in the experience of these people. You cannot understand their story when you negate their culture, their day-to-day activities, what they knew. You cannot understand what John was going through if you don't consider what he knew, his experience as a Hebrew, as a descendant of the Hebrew people. When a courtroom is set and the judge is sitting with a scroll sealed, it was evident to John some ownership of land. There was an issue of land. Land was a big issue in Israel. Like it or not, or whether you know or you don't, land was a real big issue. you could not sell a land of your inheritance. Go and ask Naboth. Even if you'd offer me vegetables, other vines which are greater and more superior, I cannot just give those things. I can't. You cannot. And this is where it becomes interesting. So John, when he sees a scroll with seals, okay, in his mind he has this imagination of land. This should have been something that happens before the Jubilee, okay? Because what was happening is, say someone gets broke in the land of Israel and they want to sell their land. You could only sell it for a period of 49 years, okay? And in the 50th year, everything would come back to the Jubilees, would be returned back to its rightful owners. The heritage would go back to the rightful owners, okay? So what used to happen was that, say poverty has hit me and my family, we sell our land, okay, and then we write on a paper, 2 ducats were written. One would go to the temple, one would be kept at the temple. One was kept at the temple. That's where the records or the affidavit, the document that says you guys, you did a sale. It would be kept at the temple, the sanctuary. That's where it was kept. You see how it is important to understand these things. So what would happen, say my cousin, he comes from diaspora, okay, he comes from diaspora, he has money now, and then he comes, I tell my brother, I say, cousin, see, it came a time after this and this happened, we sold the land of our fathers. Can you help me get back the land of our fathers? If the cousin brother would say, yes, I have money enough to pay back the remainder of the years before the Jubilee comes, we would go to the temple. We would go to the temple, call upon the civil court to sit. And when the civil court would sit, the scroll that was submitted, which was submitted to the sanctuary, is brought out. And when it is brought out, the next of kin is the one who is given. The next of kin, the one of blood, is the only one who was worthy. It was only him who was worthy to open the scroll and view the transaction that was done by his cousin before. You get the point? So John cries in this instant because he realizes that there is no next of kin is not there. He sees that this is a land issue, but there is no next of kin. No next of kin. So how is this transaction going to end for us when there is no next of kin? The other thing that came to John's mind is the issue that a king officially commencing a political year would receive a book of the law and a copy for himself. Now, to John, when he's being given this vision, this is maybe end of the 1st century, okay, he knows clearly in his mind that there is no king that resides over Israel as I sit on the Isle of Patmos. There is no land for our people, no inheritance, no one to carry forward that which our fathers gave unto us. There is no king over Israel. John, he wept. There is no king to negotiate on this forum. He cried. John, when he sees the 24 elders, John, when he sees the 24 elders, he understood. A lot of people come with so many stories and say these 24 elders where they came with Jesus from his when when he resurrected, and these are the 24 elders. Sit down, okay? Sit down with this thing of yours. Sit down and listen, okay? The 24 elders, they served to give John a perspective. Whether Yeshua, when he rose up on that great morning, whether he rose up with elders to go with them to heaven, which number we don't know, it is not given, okay? We cannot numerate or concretely 100% say that the 24 elders were the ones which were the first fruits from Jesus' resurrection. We cannot conclude that. Anything outside that is speculation. It's speculative. Okay? It's speculative. There is no way. Yes, we have the evidence that when he rose, there are people who rose and they walk in the streets and they were seen. But the fact that he took them with them, they went with him as he went on Mount of Olives, we don't have that picture. We don't have that picture. Anything outside that is speculative. But see, be a student of interpreting dreams and visions, okay? The things that are given within a dream, they might not be the thing on the ground, but they are set to invoke an understanding to the one who receives a dream or a vision. Okay, this is what is happening with John. Is the issue is not about the physical presence of real elders or the identity of those 24 elders and where they came from. That's not the issue. The issue is what that picture of 24 elders evoked in John. What did he feel? What was awakened in him? What did he understand by that? Then you come back with me to the Old Testament. He knew, John, that these 24 elders who are seated there, these are the divisions of the sons of Aaron. These are the divisions of the sons of Aaron. 24. Each division had a leader, and that leader would stand as a prince or would represent in the most sanctuary. In the sanctuary, they stayed at the sanctuary. They represented all the divisions. It made sense. It makes sense because imagine you have 24 divisions of the priesthood, okay, and then they take turns to serve in the sanctuary 2 weeks. All right, 2 weeks you'd come and serve in the sanctuary and you go back home. So what was happening was at most each division would work for 1 month. Each division would work 1 month in the sanctuary and then they would hand over. So it's 2 weeks and another one would come and then they would repeat another 2 weeks. Okay, so imagine if they didn't make this committee of representative from those divisions. So what that committee was doing was that they would keep update even to the divisions which were not on duty. They would be updated with the events at the sanctuary. Okay, if there was any need, notifications would be conveyed through the one who represented them in the council of the 24 elders. You understand? So John, he understood when he saw the 24 elders, he knew what we are talking about. This is the priesthood in Israel. This is the highest rank in Israel. Problem. They should be 25, not 24. There should be 25, not 24. The 25th one was the high priest. The high priest who was sitting, the sitting high priest was the 25th. Now you go and read Ezekiel chapter 8, I think verse 16, which says that where the verse is saying to Ezekiel, come, Ezekiel is being told, come, I will show you the things that are being done in the innermost sanctuary. And when they went there, he is shown 25 elders who were praying facing the east. Even in the temple, there were 25. The 24 elders coming from the 24 divisions of the priesthood, plus one, the high priest. So John, when he sees this scenario, he doesn't see a high priest. This becomes a problem again with him. And he says, no way. How can this be? I don't have next of kin when the land issue is being discussed. We don't have a king when the issue of dominion is being discussed. Do you feel where I am going? The judgment I am discussing, Daniel chapter 7, 26 and 27. And he realizes that we don't have the high priest. Should judgment that condemns, we do not have a high priest to stand before us, to stand and negotiate, to stand and intercede for us. This is why John weeps. John weeps because of these three factors. These three factors, by them they don't speak Shavuot. They don't speak the Pentecost, but they speak the Feast of Trumpets. You see, because they speak the Feast of Trumpets, it changes the traditional view, which requires the Pentecost, so that the first horseman begins to run in AD 31. Now, if I change the goalpost and says the sitting in Revelation chapter 4 and chapter 5, it is actually of the Pentecost. What it entails is that this is something you cannot claim it to have happened before, because when it happened, Daniel, when we started, he says that hitherto, this is the end of things. When he come to this, the end has come. The end has come. So it cannot be something that happened before. It cannot. And the horsemen could not have begun to run if judgment has not been set. If the judge has not sat on the throne. So John, just to pass by. So John receives he hears a message from one of the elders and says, John. I want to imagine how he did it. He hit him with an elbow. Said, John, don't cry. Don't. Because John could not see one who could be a high priest, and yet who could be a next of kin, and yet could be a ruler of the house of Judah. He could not see it. It could not ring in his mind. So the elder tell him that, no. Listen, John. Listen. Look, John. Look. The lamb. The lion of the tribe of Judah. He who was slain from the beginning of the world. He has conquered. He has done it. Woo-hoo. This is not inauguration of his achievement at Calvary. The inauguration of achievement of what Christ did on Calvary, you find it in Hebrews chapter 1. Okay? You find it in Hebrews chapter 1, where the question is, unto which of the angels has he ever called? Has he ever called, my son, O God, thy throne, O God? God saying to his God, thy throne, O God. And to whom has he ever called of the angels, my son, and given a more excellent name? Unto who? But to none. That was, for he had given everything to save the Father. That is the inauguration in AD 31. That is the inauguration. Hebrews chapter 1. What we find in Revelation chapter 4 and chapter 5, this is at the end. It is a feast of trumpets, the end thereof. This is the so I liked this discussion when I was starting to realize that the feast of this kind of feast of trumpets, it ends the book of Daniel. And when the book of Daniel ends, that's exactly the same point where the book of Revelation is taken up to finish the discussion, to finish the discourse, and give the timeline of the events that will happen henceforth, from now and going forward. So if anyone is familiar with my discussions before, I know people have not discussed or come to me and said, dude, you said the 2300 days were going to end in 2021 in March. So yes, they did end. If they had end, should we agree with you that they've ended? So what is should happen? Nothing has happened. We don't see it. And I said, what? Nothing. I said, wait for it. It's coming. Wait for it. From the day that it happened, we are waiting for the political year to begin. The political year to begin. And the political year that is about to begin begins on Pentecost. From the end of the 2,300 days, the next tabernacles, the next trumpets that you see, the feast of the shofars, the next that we are going to visit, that one, that judgment is set. You see, when judgment is set, this is where I was telling you that then the horsemen begin to run. Begin to run. Okay? The horsemen begin to run that time. The horsemen run because the judgment has finished its deliberations. Okay? Because judgment has finished its deliberations. Okay? The one who is in reign, the one who takes the throne, begins to exercise. He begins to exercise his duty, his mandate. See, when David the king was about to die, and he was giving his charge to his son. Okay, David, when he was about to die and is giving his Solomon the charge, he's saying, my son, okay, be strong and be of good courage. Okay, fear God and follow his commandments, and you'll be great, and blah blah blah. He tells him about the book of the law and everything, how to treat people. But there is something that David goes on to do. David goes on to address the things that had happened when he was reigning, which he did not which he did not revenge or avenge. What he said, he begins to list, and he said, Solomon, do not forget Shimei. Do not forget the man called Shimei. You know what Shimei did? He threw stones upon me. He did shame towards the king. Do not forget Shimei. This is what happens in chapter 5. The son, Yeshua, receives the testament of the land, and he is given the charge. Do not forget Do not forget those who squandered my children. Do not forget those who took their positions, their rightful positions, those who took my children into slavery, into captivity, into the slave trade. Those who looked at them and they stole their wealth from their countries, from their land. Those who I had called them just to give a small punishment to my people. But you know what they did? They extended, they exaggerated the extent of punishment. Do not forget them. Do not forget them. Tita, do not forget them. So what we have in the horses, the horsemen, listen, if you go to Zechariah chapter 1, I didn't put it here, but if you go to Zechariah chapter 1, Zechariah, he's given visions in the beginning. I like the vision of the horsemen. You know the part I like about the horsemen? Those who were standing in the myrtle trees, the horses which had red horses, and they were standing in the myrtle trees. Okay, and the issue is they went around the world. They ran across the world. They ran, and they came to give a feedback. This is where the story of the four horsemen is. If you didn't know, they came and give the feedback, and they said the world sits. Let me allow me to take you to Zechariah, to the book of Zechariah. The book of Zechariah chapter 1. There's this part I want, the myrtle trees. Yes. Okay, so from verse 8 it says, I saw by night, and behold, a man riding a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, and behind him were 3 red horses, speckled and white. So there are 4 horsemen in the book of Zechariah. All right. What did he say? And then said I, O Lord, what are these? And the angel that talked with me said unto me, I will shew thee what these be. And the men that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, These are they whom the Lord hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. For what reason are they walking to and fro? And they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees and said, We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. Verse 11, he says, and all the land is sitting still and at rest. It is their mandate. It is their mandate to keep peace, to hold peace, or to take peace should they be given the charge to take the peace away. They know. They know. Yeah, they're the 4 horsemen. They have gone to and fro. The reporters, they're still and at rest. But when you jump to Revelation, okay, to Revelation chapter 5, the mandate, chapter 6, the mandate with the horses is not to keep peace. No, it's not to keep peace. It's to go and disturb. See, this is why I said that. If you understand that the event of Revelation chapter 4 and 5 is not a Pentecost, but it is in effect, it is the Feast of Trumpets. Okay, if you understand that part, then you would understand now that the horsemen are not just there and are not just an event or a period that passes by and it is nothing. They are to be recognized. So remember, our objectives of studying this was to understand when should the horsemen begin to ride, okay, and what is the purpose of the horsemen to ride. So when are they going to begin to ride? This is when they are going to take away peace from earth. The way they take peace is not one that is done by human hand. It is by the horsemen. Not by human hand, by a horseman. Okay? They're going to take peace. They're going to visit all those who did these evil things towards the captives, the saints of the Most High. They're going to be visited. And even in that time, this is where I like Daniel chapter 12 verse 1. For the first time, I think it's the one that comes late after. Yeah. Okay. So Daniel chapter 12 verse 1. I enjoyed this verse now than ever before. I'd never seen what this verse is talking about. Okay. Daniel 12 verse 1. So many teachers who teach this, who read this verse, their concept is the suffering or the pain of the Most High, because of the strife. They say people are going to be persecuted and so forth and so forth. No. I read this verse again. Actually, what this verse is saying is that, at that time shall arise Michael, the great prince, who has charge of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble. So what it is talking about, it is saying that Michael is the one who oversees over the people of the Most High. Michael, his mandate in this difficult time we are going to go is to keep safe those who have been sealed. Michael's mandate is that those who have believed that they are protected and covered in the strife that is going to come. That is Michael's mandate. Yes, strife is going to come like it has never happened. All right, like as if it has never happened. A time of trouble such as never was seen since there was a nation, even to the same time. But when this happens, Michael would have stood to protect and cover those who have been born into a nation. You need to listen to my videos that I did before, okay? So I did a video that discusses the birth of a nation, okay? The birth of a nation, Zion giving a birth to a male child. How does Zion give birth? When is Zion giving birth? Okay? It is this which Zion has given birth to, which Michael is supposed to protect. You know why Michael has to protect this male child or this nation that has been born? You know why? Because of Revelation chapter 12 from verse 3 and 4, that the red dragon, the old serpent, is waiting to swallow the child who has been born. And if you ask Gabriel when he was talking to Daniel in Daniel chapter 10, and he says, I was coming, but I got delayed. I got delayed. You know why I got delayed? I got delayed because of this king of Persia. The king of Persia was wrestling with me. It was only when Michael came. It was only when Michael came. It is only Michael who can stand against Lucifer. Let me remove one misconception and speculation that people have given, that Michael is Yeshua. Yeshua is Michael, the great angel. No. That is speculative. Yes, Michael seemed to have a charge which in a way seems to be the same position as Yeshua should have. But I'm inclined to see things different, that Michael is an independent angel, but he is mightier. He is one who I think could have stood one-on-one with Lucifer. He is great and greater than Gabriel. Gabriel, yes. Gabriel, yes. He has his strength and powers and this and that, but not like Michael. Michael is the warring angel. I did another video. Okay, and I know people, they don't follow, they don't ask questions. So what I do, I did another video. This is around 2017, where I was discussing the star that was observed, the star of Revelation 12 verse 1, the star which was observed. I did a video, and in that video I showed that actually the star which was very important in that alignment stood for a warring angel. Okay, the same star appeared in Bethlehem back that time in the beginning of the AD counting. All right, and that star, okay, the controlling star in that was signifying the birth of a king, the birth of a king, the birth of a king child. This is why the Magi who came from the east were looking for a king who was born, a child who was born, because they had seen, they understood the stars. And this is understanding the stars that I'm giving, that the warring angel Gabriel, he stood up. No, he's not going to start now. He already stood up and began the protective work. So within, as he was protecting the child who was born, the child was being about to be born. We were being born. Hey, elder, what are you talking about? We were being born. I put myself in we. I know so much. Let me say, it's my experience. It's my experience in the night visions and how they have discussed with me, okay, and talked to me. Yeah, and they said that you have been called by name, and I know you. And he says, Abraham Nyakonda, that's your name. The said thing, he went on to ask a couple of people whom I had looked to often and thought they were in good standing, but he asked their names and said, what is your name? What is your name? As in, he did not know their names. He had no idea who these people were. And the frightening thing is, these people are actually in the forefront of saying we work for the Lord. But that's my experience. I'll just end it there. Let me deliberate my subject. My experiences are mine, okay? And they are the ones that push my position to where I am going. All right? Yes. So, yeah, that was the birth of a king, or Michael standing up. Okay, so the first horse, all right, the first horse, okay, there we go. So the first horse, the first horse, when the first horse began to ride, for sure Michael already stood. But there's a misconception about the first horse, which I want to clear. Now that we have denied if you agree with me, we have denied that the sitting in Revelation chapter in Revelation chapter 4 and 5, we have denied that it is not the feast, the Pentecost. Okay, so it means that if it is not the Pentecost, then the first horse cannot be Yeshua. The first horse could not represent Yeshua, and the church of the apostles cannot be Yeshua and the church of the apostles. But in somewhat manner, the white horse, there are two explanations I'm going to feed on this. The first one says that the white horse could be the witnesses, the witness program in Revelation chapter 11. Verse 11 from chapter 11 from verse 3, is it 3 or 4, and going down, the witnesses who will be able to stand and walk with authority and power. And the Bible says that whatever they are going to call is going to happen. They're just going to stand just as good as Elijah did on Mount Carmel, as Elisha did to call for a drought and say, should they need that it will not rain, it will not rain. Okay, and Elijah did that. He so desired that there is no rain, and there was no rain, and he called on fire, that a thing that had never happened, that it should cause it to happen. And these are the witnesses who will run with the white horse. What do they have? They have a staff office, a crown. They are given a crown of victory. So this crown they are given, it shows that these are people who have conquered. Okay, they have conquered, and they're given the crown. Their fate is as if completed, and yet they are still walking. This is what Ellen White was discussing, that they shall be a people, a breed of people who shall walk without an intercessor and yet prove to be right before Yahweh. This is what she was talking about. Okay, and that time has just come upon us. All right, and these witnesses, what they are going to do, they are going to go and preach the word. They are going to go and preach it, and then there will be great baptisms in big numbers. Yeah, I saw the baptisms. Yeah, they were so rapid, like you are dipping something in a water. Like they are going to be so many baptisms, because people shall realize the truth and shall walk away from error and receive the truth, to follow it and to believe it. Okay, so this is the first understanding of the white horse. Stephanos is given to this witness, a crown of victory is given to them, that they should go and hunt and judge the land. Just as Elijah did when he went to King Ahab, and he said, King Ahab, for 3.5 years there will not be rain. What are you doing? What are you doing? Making people to worship Baal Peo? So this is what they're gonna do. This is how they come with the bows and arrows. Okay? Yes, and they will also preach the word. They will give the evidence of the word, and people will repent and be baptized. Please start searching yourself, because what I'm going to discuss in the second horse and the third horse might cause you not to realize the work of the first horse. And if you fail to realize the work of the first horse, then you're going to miss your only opportunity. Because right now, I'll tell you, you are sleeping. You have not come to the table, to the point. Exactly. You have not come there. Okay? You haven't come there. I'll come to that discussion later on. All right? And then the other issue at hand, the issue of the white horse, another alternative. This one is not my understanding. Well, I accepted it after I read from someone, okay, his argument where he says, no, the white horse could not be Yeshua. Could not be. Actually, this is the first warning that Yeshua gave in Matthew chapter 24 to his disciples, saying that, be careful lest anyone should deceive you and say, I am the Christ. For he shall come purporting to be the rider of the white horse. And yet, great deception is coming with him, through him. You get the point. You get the point. It's not Yeshua. Yeshua, in this case, he is a king. The playground is with Micah. Then Michael shall stand, I discussed, a time of great trouble. The red horse. The red horse. The red horse. This I didn't comment because my comments might my videos might be pulled down because I'm streaming directly to YouTube also, so I'm trying to be sensitive, otherwise it will be pulled down. But it says that its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth so that people should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. So one of the things that is going to happen now from after the Pentecost, after the trumpets this year, one other thing to look forward for after the great awakening and the great preaching and signs and wonders that the witness are going to do. One of the things that you're going to do is that we are going to see revolts, protest. Okay, but this is how the peace is going to be taken away from the earth. People are going to protest the things that are happening now. Okay, the pandemics, the planned demic. What should I say? The pandemic. Yes, people are going to revolt. Okay, people are going to have an uprising. This is written in the book of Ezra. I don't think I'm trying to insinuate something or telling people something. No. This is written in the book of Esdras. Esdras chapter 2. Second book of Esdras. I think it's chapter 9, where he talks about in the time of people were asking me and they're saying, no, we are not going to follow you. You are reading from Apocrypha. The wise shall understand, but the fools, they will never get anything. Okay, but then the issue is that there are going to be revolts. Okay, I would have gone to extent to explain what is going to happen, but people are coming up, an uprising is going to come over the strategies which have been used to cater the pandemic. Okay, and also the just about to be proposed ideas. Okay, some people of certain denominations or churches are going to be shocked by a decision which is going to be made by the body of church. And when they are shocked like that, they shall threaten to leave the church. No, many will leave, except a few whose thinking and understanding of the Bible is not correct. They will stay put and think that there's still something inside when Ichabod, the glory, has already left. This horse, I have no comment. Okay, the third horse is a black horse. The stallion. See the colors, stibium black. What a beautiful beast. Okay, so what happens is here is the black horse is someone who's coming with scales. Okay, sorry about my fingers that way, but it's someone who's coming with scales. Yeah. So they're gonna scale. What's gonna happen is that in the third horse, people are discussing that there's going to be limit of food and ration. People are going to be forced to get the mark of the beast because they want to buy food and blah 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 blah. Let me tell you, there will not be shortage of food. Okay, the Bible is saying that there will be 3/4 of barley and 1/4 of wheat. That means 3/4 plus 1/4. It means you don't have a shortage. It's full package. You don't have a shortage. There is going to be everything. The problem here is the quality of food. And when you're talking quality of food, people in crisis will eat anything as long as it's palatable. They will eat. But what is happening here is not the issue of food that goes into the stomach. That's not the issue. The issue here is about the word of Yahweh. About the word of Yahweh. The word of Yahweh says that there are some, all right, the time that we are going, because of deception, is going to be rife. If you now look at the deceptive white horse, the other alternate explanation, okay, so that when people are deceived, they would have more of cheap stuff, which is not the true gospel, which is not the truth. For them to buy the truth, which gives them life, they need to pay more equivalent to getting barley. That is the argument. Those who seek truth have to pay for it, a heavy ransom to get there. But those who don't can get 3 times as much. It's at the same effort. That's the story. Period. That's the story. Period. So I put my discussions. You can still go and read them. Actually, I had a warning. I have friends of mine also, yes, who have seen the same thing. But their problem, they are preparing to say we will go on Exodus, and we need to keep food. And then no, don't. The problem in the desert was people who carried enough onions for a certain distance and cucumbers for prinkles. They carried the prinkles and garlics, and when those got finished, they wanted some more. The things of Egypt. Then they started to ask, can we have garlic, leeks, and cucumber? These are vegetarians, actually. These were not meat eaters. These were vegetarians who were asking for food of Egypt. I'm sorry, my vegetarian family. Okay, but I need to hammer you now. Okay? These are vegetarians. The problem in the desert was with vegetarians who wanted garlic and cucumber from Egypt and leeks. So what I'm saying is, the journey to the coming Exodus, it is already catered for. Don't forget, for 40 years, they ate manna in the desert, in the wilderness. For 40 years. The last verse, the last horse I need to finish up is the pale horse. It's the pale horse, the horse of death. Yeah. It's the horse of death. But it's a beautiful beast. It's a beautiful animal. Its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him, and they were given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with sword and with famine and with pestilence and by wind, beasts of the earth. So the fourth horse, what he is carrying with him is something you will find in Revelation chapter 8 and chapter 9. That's what he is carrying. Yep, that's what he's carrying. That's with the famine now. See famine? So this will show you that the third one, the black horse, was not discussing famine. Okay, it was something else. But famine is in the fourth one. Okay? So they are about to jump into action. All right? The four horsemen. When do they come into session? They are coming just now. Okay? Just now they're coming after the trumpets, sometime in September. After they will get into action, they begin to act. Yeah. I heard someone said, "Brother, what are you talking about?" Okay. They came at the end, contrary to the mainstream teachings. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I said the four horsemen are coming at the end. Their purpose or their business is to facilitate the transition of the kingdom, to facilitate the transition of returning things to their rightful owner. The kingdom, the dominion, and the greatness of the captives have to be returned back to its own people. The four horsemen are there to facilitate that. They carry the process of the day. Okay? When you see the horsemen, understand that we are past it. Okay. From the coming Feast of Trumpets, events could be, as the Bible say, they are to be. Okay, unprecedented and has never been seen before. Okay, yes, I had to do today because tomorrow I have another discussion and I cannot do two of them in a single stretch. Okay, so I had to do this one today, and then tomorrow I will have something else. Okay, yes. So thank you. Those are the four horsemen. Yeah, yes. I think I corrected some mainstream story, and to those who anticipate things to happen should be on their toes now, or should be asking even more questions, yeah, on what exactly is about to come, brother. Okay, yes. So in closing, and me saying bye bye, ciao, see you later, or tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna part together, with this song. All right. Okay, so
the coming King is at the door.
Theme from now on, that's going to be our theme till the time.
But now the righteous ones alone, he comes to gather home. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming, he is coming, he is even at the door. The signs that show his coming near are fast fulfilling year by year, and soon will hail the glorious dawn of heaven's eternal morn. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming, he is coming again, he is even at the door.
things that are coming upon us are going to be unprecedented dimension. They are going to be greater than what we have ever seen.
He is coming again, He is coming again, He is even at the door. Look not on earth for strife to cease, look not below for joy and peace, until the Savior comes again to banish death and sin. At the door, 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 yes, even at the door. He is coming again, He is coming again, He is even at the door.
Coming easy, even at the door. That was the best. Good night, shalom, shalom, guys. Have a great night, all right? See ya.